Good evening. Happy New Year. Welcome back to All for Women's Football and to another lower league lingo. New year, but it's the same old stuff with a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a change as to how we're going to be moving forward as we move into 2025 with brand new lower league content. We've got loads planned for this year, loads that we want to do, loads of ways in which we want to try and highlight lower league football, but we're back with our usual sort of thing. And gone are the old match of the day style screens where you're doing your football scores and you see all that. They've gone. Too much like hard work sometimes doing that. It's been a nice, easy, relaxing day for Barry. I've managed to get all my slides done. It's looking lovely because we're just going to look at the leagues and discuss what's been going on. But before we can do that, who was watching the Women's FA Cup this weekend? It was absolutely unreal. So myself and John, Midlands and Southern representatives, we're going to kick it off. Gareth will be here. He's just having a little bit of a drama at home, and we've had to start recording now because otherwise I won't get out and I'll end up getting the sack. So that's no good to anybody. So we need to get started. And to do that, we're going to have a quick look at the FA Cup fourth round. Now, what we see here, John, actually, I should probably say, John, how are you? Happy New Year. Has it been a good festive and restful period for you?
Yeah, I've missed doing it, Barry. Even my dad says to me, John, oh, you're busy tonight, aren't you? Because it's Tuesday and that means that you're recording this show. And I've had to say to him, no, we've got a 2 or 3 week break. So even my dad's looking forward to this show as well. So, yeah, it's been good. It's been good to have a bit of a break, but good to get back into it, mate.
Perfect. Well, it does mean we've got at least one viewer, so that is great news. Just a few more to go. Excellent. Well, we've got lots to look at. And what we've done here, what I've done here, is this is the list of what I like to call the lucky losers. They're the people, the unlucky losers, I suppose, on this occasion, because they don't go through. But these are the lower league teams that took part in the FA Cup fourth round, but that did not make it through in the end. We've not really included the championship per se in this one because we tend to look at WNL and below. But obviously some big ones there. Tier 5, London and South East region, Fulham, they lost 5-0 to London City Lionesses, both looking to win their league. London City Lionesses doing well in the championship, only a point off the top, but the class and the quality showed there. We've also got Exeter City 1, Sunderland 7. That's Tier 3 up against Tier 2, but Sunderland once again coming out strong on that one. Newcastle defeating Nottingham Forest. Forest who'd had to play midweek in the third round to beat Burnley 1-0, then had to come back at the weekend to travel all the way to Newcastle and narrowly defeated there. That's top of Tier 3, Nottingham Forest, against 7th in the Championship, Newcastle. And of course, then we start looking at some of the glamour ties. WSL's Manchester City 3, Ipswich Town, second in Tier 3, nil. Aston Villa 9. It was a bit of a pace in there, unfortunately, for Bristol Rovers, who I hope enjoyed their day as best as they could. But that was a 6th place Tier 4 team getting walloped, if we're being fair, by a WSL side. I'm talking about being walloped. The same thing happened, although not until the 77th minute for West Bromwich Albion. A nice 1-0 lead for Manchester United for the vast majority of the game. But West Bromwich Albion, as you would expect, I suppose, just falling apart a little bit once the second goal went in, the resistance gone. But looking at those, which of those games sort of stood out for you? Was there any sort of, they're not good results because they're all losses, but you know what I mean? Any that stand out for you as being a really good effort?
I think from an outsider, you look at some of those and you think, oh yeah, it's kind of expected. But I think as a Midland representative, Forest only losing 1-0 to Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle are flying and they have been for a number of seasons, but they're flying this season. And let's bear in mind, Forest won midweek to get to that stage. Today had to play Burnley, which was a very tough tie. 2 teams in Tier 3 North going for the title. They played on Wednesday, and then Forest had to travel to Newcastle just a few days later and play them. So to only lose 1-0, I think fair play to Forest. And as you rightly said about West Bromwich Albion, yes, it's 7-0. However, they kept in it right up until the 77th minute against a WSL team. Albion bottom half of Tier 3. Man United, top half of WSL. And if I was West Bromwich Albion, I would be looking at that thinking, you know what, we held our own for 77 minutes and then obviously we've been working all day. We've been a bit tired, you know, and then obviously just got a little bit too much for them in the end. But no, I think Albion should take credit in going 77 minutes without getting battered until the full 90.
No, absolutely. So I think some really good efforts there, and only one side actually out of the lower league sides to score a goal, and that one being Exeter City with the goal against the championship rivals there. So yeah, I think we had some interesting efforts there, some good tries, but none of those making it through to the fifth round. But there was some joy in it, which means that the next time the FA Cup's on, we're still going to have a couple of matches to talk about. It's a real shame that Gazza's not here, because certainly one of them is one that he would probably get quite a good kick out of having a chat about. But two big ones here. London Bees, after a superb performance in the previous round, having the same thing happen to them, unfortunately, as they get hit for 6 with Rugby Borough. London Bees are 5th in Tier 4, 8 points off the top now. They've not had a great start to 2025, losing both of their games so far in 2025, which is a shame for them because they were 12 games unbeaten before that defeat last week. So that's a big one, but we'll get to that when we get to the leagues. Rugby Borough, meanwhile, 1 tier higher, 4th at the moment, 7 points off the top. Absolutely smashed it, John. And then certainly one of your bingo card will get ticked off here as well. But Wolves as well. I mean, two massive results there. Wolves 2nd in Tier 3, just a point off the top. Cheltenham are always going to struggle a little bit. You know, they're just a few points off the relegation zone in Tier 3. So it's a tricky one for them. Gaz has just turned up. Going to throw him straight in at the deep end here. But we're just discussing these matches here, Gareth. You all right? Everything okay?
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Well, we're just discussing this. So we'll let John have a little chat about his thoughts on Wolves. And then if you want to jump in and just let us know your thoughts on the London Bees and Rugby Borough result.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 2-0 to Wolves. If you have a look at FA full time, we always like to spot the odd mistake even there. If you go to FA full time, they have Cheltenham winning 2-0. They got the Wolves goal scorers, but it does say Cheltenham 2, Wolves 0. Sorry, guys, just every now and again, it's a bit of a comical moment. I mean, look, a massive well done to Wolves. Cheltenham actually knocked Wolves out of the League Cup earlier this season, so Cheltenham would have got in there knowing it was going to be a tough ask. However, Wolves were just a little bit too strong for them. So no major surprise there. And obviously they got a glamour tie in the next round against Manchester United as well. So massive for Wolves there. But yeah, I'll let Gareth discuss the rest.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic result for Rugby Borough, isn't it? I think Bees they've not been flying as high as Rugby have been. So I think you would have on paper said that Rugby probably favourites for the tie, but with it being an away game, with it being the FA Cup, so many things can happen. They came through Mancunian Unity in the last round. And so to go down to London and get the job done is super professional. And I think they've done it in a way that I don't think people have expected. I think people on paper probably go, yeah, I think Rugby take the win, but I don't think they would have expected them to batter London Bees in the way they have. And similar to Wolves, they've been rewarded with that big tie in the next round with either West Ham or Liverpool, I believe, is who they've got. So, it's great to see some National League representation going deep into the competition.
Absolutely, which was what we were just talking about there. So you'll notice we've got Leicester and Stoke put on there. That's because in 45 minutes time, well, maybe a bit less for you now, probably more like 35 minutes time as you're watching this, it will be kicking off because it's on Wednesday. So that game will be kicking off. Leicester v Stoke. It was obviously postponed. That will be being played midweek. And it's a chance for Stoke, bless them, to make it into the next round too. So what will happen? Well, Wolves, they made it through and they were rewarded with a home match against Manchester United. So that's going to be quite a moment. And you would imagine, John, that's going to be at Molineux, isn't it? You would think, surely, if they've got anything about them.
Yeah, I think the men's team are playing away, so I don't think there's any clash there. Question is, what day will it be? Because potentially they might do something a bit different. But yeah, but I do know that the fans don't want it at Molineux. They like the new Bucks Head in Telford. It's their home. They've been there for a little while. And they would rather fill that up than just like one side of the Molineux. But yeah, wouldn't be surprised if it is a Molineux. And why not? It's a special occasion. Wolves have got a bit of a record of going deep into the FA Cup. They did last year as well. So why not make a big song and dance out of it?
Absolutely, I agree. Make an occasion of it because it very well could be the last game if the previous one for United is anything to go by. So there we go. That's that one. Man City will be at home to either Leicester or Stoke, depending on who wins that game in about 30 odd minutes. And rugby are, as Gareth so eloquently said, at home to either West Ham United or Liverpool. And again, that's a really big match for them, the chance to have a WSL side. So this round specifically here is what it's all about, that chance to have a home tie, bringing the WSL and a bit of glamour in terms of the fixture to your home ground. So that's what we're looking forward to. And that's on the weekend of the 9th of February. It's all down for Sunday, the 9th of February. But as John said, they like to muck about with our days. So don't be surprised if it's on the 7th, the 8th, maybe the 10th, or it might be postponed because we'll have Hurricane Jonathan come in and it could be Wednesday the 23rd or something. Who knows? But that's what it's meant to be. All right. So we'll see where we end up on that day. Right. These were so easy to do. I absolutely adored our work on the slides today, as I said, and Gareth will be able to kick straight in with you. There wasn't a huge amount going on in Division 1 North. Lots of games obviously still called off due to the weather. Just the two games that took place, I believe, over the weekend. Durham Sestria losing 1-0 to... Oh, let's try going to the right one, shall we? That'd probably help. Unbelievable. There was no games. There was no games whatsoever. The Northern Premier did absolutely zero. Nothing happened, pretty much. But since the last time we looked at it, that's where we are. There are some games coming up that are quite big. We've got Liverpool Feds up against Rugby Borough. We've got Sporting Cowser against Forest. Stoke against Hull. Stourbridge against Wolves. That'll be a nice little derby there. I'm sure that Mr. Foster's licking his lips at that one. And, of course, Halifax against West Bromwich Albion. So a little bit of a potted history, really. We looked at this at the end of the year, but anything that sticks out for you there in terms of the fixtures and just sort of whet people's appetite to bring them back into the Northern Premier?
Yeah, I think those games that you mentioned, Stourbridge and Wolves, is a derby, and even though they're fighting on different fronts in the league this season, if you can't get up for a game like that for a chance to nick a point as Stourbridge, then I think you're going to struggle to find motivation in other games. I think Wolves will probably come away with all 3 points, but like we say, football's a funny old game. Feds and Rugby Borough, again, I think that if Rugby do want to kind of push on and try and close the gap between those top two, that's the game they're going to want to win. But I think Feds are a strong side. They're looking like they're sort of in that mid-table this season. They were sort of best of the rest last year, and they'll be hoping to kind of be in that top half of the table again this year, and they'll be looking at that rugby game, hoping to come away with 3 points as well. So lots and lots for lots of teams. I think around the north of England, there's lots and lots of title fights, lots and lots of relegation scraps. This actually probably the league that is starting to kind of break away into smaller chunks. I think Burnley with that game in hand are there, so you're looking at those top three probably. Are you looking for your title? Then you've got your Rugby and Stoke are sort of there, fourth and fifth. Feds, Derby, with a good run of form, could close that gap. And then you're looking at your relegation battle with, I would argue, West Brom are in there now, down to Halifax at the bottom. Probably Halifax likely to be done, but then that last spot, there's 4 potential teams that could be scrapping out for that. So, lots going on, lots of places for the attention to go. But I think that Feds and Rugby game stands out to me.
It's just what we want, isn't it? Exactly what we want, to have a league like this where it could be nice and competitive. Still don't know who's going to win it, and still plenty of chances to see people drop into Tier 4. So plenty to talk about over the course of the next few weeks, and I'm sure that we will. Now, the Southern... sorry, John, I did say you can have a little talk on this if you want to. Is there anything you wanted to add to what Gazza just said there?
Just a couple of minutes. If anyone's wondering about the Arrows, that's because I think there was one game that we probably haven't covered since then. It was Kelso. I think they won Halifax. That was the only game that was played in the league just before Christmas. Since then, Lexi Harrison and Jamie Lee Banford, two of Halifax's top players, have left the club as well. So not looking great for Halifax there. And yeah, I agree with obviously Gareth. There's a lot of every game means something, whether it be at the top or the bottom. Burnley, I believe, have got a county cup game last time I checked. So Burnley is a team that's not playing. Well, they are playing this week, but it's in the county cup, so they'll have an additional game in hand as well. And yes, I'll be at the Stourbridge and Wolves game, and I can't wait.
That's got to be a few. He's mentioned Cheltenham already, so that's definitely a couple that have been put in there. Right, the Southern Premier did have a few bits going on. As you can see here, Hashtag United have retaken the top of the league with a 2-0 win against Plymouth, who somehow have still managed to go up a bit. There's obviously been other games going on last week as well, because they did escape the relegation zone, but that defeat against Hashtag, not the most helpful thing they've ever had. Oxford United losing to AFC Wimbledon 1-0 as well are the only two games that were played at the weekend. Obviously, the big news looking at this one, Ipswich still 3 games in hand over Hashtag and only 3 points behind. So technically could draw every single one of them and still be top just by goal difference, which is quite a thing. So I fear that as far as Hashtag are concerned, Ipswich will be top of the table before long. So I don't see them losing 3 games on the trot, especially when you consider they're currently unbeaten. Haven't lost a game yet, but all good things must come to an end. Will that be any time soon? Looking down the bottom, very similar to Halifax in the Northern Premier, Milton Keynes Dons looking sadly like they might be on their way back to Tier 4. And then again, you're looking really at sort of Gwalia and Plymouth. It looks like one of two at the moment, unless Cheltenham or Billericay get dragged back down into it. But these are the ones where Plymouth and Gwalia will need to win those games in hand. Now, just before we get into the conversation about these sorts of things, I have a little question for you guys, because next weekend is the County Cup across most of the WNL. So there's not going to be loads of matches going on. In the Southern Prem, the only game that's going to happen is Gwalia against Ipswich, and that very well does look like the game that will put Ipswich back to the top of the table. There is going to be WNL plate matches as well that weekend and WNL Cup semi-finals. So those things happen. I'll tell a lie, Watford and Lewis are playing as well on the 26th. So that will happen in the battle for 6th over there. But County Cups, how do we feel about these things? Our one in Hertfordshire, it was just a County Cup. And it's interesting, so on full-time, they never want to include the goals for County Cup, which I always think is a bit harsh, because you take it in the other games, they don't go, well, we're not going to count your Conti Cup games, or we're not going to count the games that you have in the League Cup for the men. So it's a bit of a shame for me when that happens, but I tend to count them for our stats because a goal's a goal, right? But they have split it now. So the County Cup, rather than it just being a side that might be doing incredibly well against a side that doesn't play very often and is in a much lower league, rather than having these, and they are consistent, you do see quite a lot. I think there was one, I don't know if it was Rugby Borough, I think it might have been Rugby Borough, where they had done, yes, they've had 43 goals in their last 5 games. They've only played 5 cup games. 2 of them were in the County Cup, where they scored 27 of those 43 goals. So it's a big thing. Lots of goals scored. So they have split it so that some of the lower ranked sides will go into like the county plate sort of things. They've very much done like the WNL Cup, WNL plate idea. Is that what's happening in your regions? And what do we reckon about county cups in general? Is it a good thing for the sport and the growth, giving them those extra games and extra competition, or not? What do we reckon?
I'll jump in quickly. We, at the start of the season, we entered 2 county cups. We entered both Manchester, because Wythenshawe are a Manchester-based club, but our affiliations with Lancashire. So we joined the Lancashire County Cup as well. The reason I mention this is because Manchester is just the Manchester County Cup. But within that, the highest the highest ranked team within that is Cheadle Town, who are tier 4. So they're Division 1 North, and they were the highest ranked team. Last year it was FC United in that league as well. And the vast majority of other teams are tiers 5 and 6. So it is competitive. And, this weekend it's Cheadle Town against Withenshaw, which, I'm hoping that next year that's a National League fixture. And that should be a good clash. We actually withdrew from the Lancashire County Cup because Lancashire do split theirs. So last year we won it. We beat Haslingden in the final, and that is done so that it is tiers 6 and below. So the Northwest Regional Division 1 sides are the highest ranked sides in that competition. And we won that competition last year. Great, good occasion. This year in the County Cup, we got drawn against Burnley, and when the league weren't thrilled with us playing in 2 county cups, it was going to be a bit awkward. So we opted to withdraw from the Lancashire one because we wanted to have a crack at a trophy. I think they're really good opportunities for lots of clubs to have a real crack at a trophy. I think but the gulf between tiers 3 and tiers 5 is huge, especially at the top of tier 3 where you've got teams like Rugby, Wolves, Forest, Burnley, etc. That's a huge gap. And yeah, I don't know. I like the county cups. I just think that maybe it's time, sooner rather than later, that we say that tiers 1, 2, and 3 don't play in the county cup, and then tiers 4 and below do. Um, or some other way of making it work like that, or some sort of seeding so that the top sides will come in later in the competition and those smaller sides will play earlier. Instead of it just being a general draw in the first round where anything could happen. Because in the Lancashire County Cup, I think only 6 teams entered it. So 2 teams got a bye. And I don't see why Burnley couldn't have been one of those sides. And then you leave your tier 4 and tier 5 sides to play that first round, and your tier 3 side gets a bye through to the semi final.
So a
Because I
bit like
like the
the EFL
competition.
Trophy, then, where it's just the lower, the lower leagues effectively, rather than it being the top ones.
Yeah, and like the FA Cup does it, doesn't it? And um, most other competitions that include a wide span of teams have some sort of seeding where the bigger teams come in later in the competition. So I think that's the big step I would look at if I was the county cup, because I
What's
don't
the
think
problem
that.
there, though, with the county cup be that actually you're then in a situation where it depends how many teams you've got. So, there might only be, because some teams just withdraw and don't end up playing the game and you get a walkover. So you could end up really just playing sort of 3 or 4 rounds. So at what point do you let them in? Or do you end up in like the Conti Cup where effectively Chelsea are in the final and everybody else just has to battle to play them? I'm joking, Chelsea fans, but you get the idea. It's so they're so late into the competition that actually they might as well have just been told you're going straight in the final.
Yeah, I think as well, but I think that particularly with some of those ones where it is tiers 3, 4, and 5, because that was a split in Lancashire. I think there are teams that will be put off playing in the competition because people want to focus on the league or league cups or FA Cups, and it's just this another game. It's another chance for players to pick up injuries. It's another chance where if players have got annual leave, do you really want them to book annual leave for a game where it's going to take an awful lot for you to win, when actually they can book that leave the following week for a big cup game or for the FA Cup game or something like that. So I think that it just, where there's these big mismatches, it falls down a list of priorities for teams. And yeah, whilst I think they are important, I think that they naturally, because they in the men's game as well, they're a non-league competition. So the Manchester County Cup on the men's side includes teams, I believe, from the Northern Premier Division and below. So it doesn't include National League teams. So it's teams from Step 3, I think, of non-league below. And they're the teams that play in that. So I wonder if maybe actually that's what we look at doing, and we look at saying, it's tricky because the National League spans it's one league but spans 6 divisions, and so that might be tricky to split that midway through. But that seems to be, to me, where the natural cut is. But then again, if you compare MK Dons to Ipswich, there's huge differences there in terms of playing stuff. So I think, we're just in a weird place for the moment. But I am in favour of them, and would probably go down a seeding route first of all. But then, like you say, is it just going to be the case that one team gets a bye to the semi-final and another team has played 2 or 3 games to get there? Yeah, it's tricky. I don't envy the decision makers.
Sorry, Bo, what was that? Sorry.
Anything for you, John? Any thoughts on the old county cups?
Yeah, just very quickly, just to give you an insight into what it's like by me. So I'm sandwiched between the Birmingham County and Worcester County. Both set up completely differently. Both have, so in the Birmingham, you've got academy teams who are in there as well. So you've got Birmingham and Aston Villa academies. You've got tier 3 teams that's obviously got fully professional players in there as well, mixed in with tier 5, tier 6 players. So that's obviously where you get that discrepancy. Worcester, on the other hand, the Worcestershire one, you haven't got any academy teams, you haven't got any full-time teams. You have got seedings, Gareth, so you have got some of the bigger teams that come in January, whereas in the Birmingham County Cup they come in sooner. But yeah, you've only got a couple of teams in the Worcester County Cup, really. So it's very likely that the same 2 teams could get to that final every season, whereas the Birmingham County Cup, you've got a number of teams and a number of academies that can get there. So 2 completely different setups there, but both equally as interesting as well, to be fair.
No, I agree. Very quickly from the pair of you, would you, because you're both involved within the social media of your clubs, would you include County Cup goals in your statistics for your players? Absolutely. Yeah. Good. I'm
absolutely pleased. If for no other reason, Barry, than the amount of grief I would get from the players if they're not included, just would make it not worth my while. It's bad enough if I can't see an assist because there's something in my way, let alone if I just pretend their goals don't count.
Fair point. Fair point. The amount of times I have to tell them, no, you don't get an assist because you won a penalty is hilarious. Actually, they do like that. But that we scored from it. Yes, it's not how it works, though, is it? They do it on Fantasy Premier. Yeah, well, it's not the Premier League, is it?
But I would give an assist for winning a penalty.
Oh. And up late and you can't with that sort of rubbish. You're going to start screening your responses. But we'll press on. Otherwise, I'm never going to get to training. But there we go. So there you go. That's the Southern Premier. Now we can move on to talking about Durham Sestria. We're back with you on this one, Gareth. So Division 1 North, just a couple of results from the weekend. Durham Sestria losing to Cheadle Town Stingers 1-0, and that has put Cheadle at the top of the table. Middlesbrough defeating Leeds, so putting themselves within a point of 3rd spot, and of course 2 games in hand, which would put them top of the league should they win it. Again, County Cup next week. Cheadle have got to play Middlesbrough in their next game on the 26th of January, so that is going to be absolutely huge on there. We've also got Doncaster Rover Bells against York, which is absolutely massive when you look at the bottom of the table there. You've got Huddersfield against Leeds, which again is huge as to which one of those teams is going to be getting up there for the title challenge. And of course, you've got Stockport against Durham Sestria as well in the middle of the table. But again, Stockport sat there really trying to put away. This is your favourite league, Gaza. It's all going to be going off, and it literally kicks off on the 26th of January. It is going to be absolutely wild.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is. My favourite league is a neutral at the moment. The relegation scrap in the Northwest Regional Premier League is also insane, but this one I'm totally neutral on. So yeah, that being removed from it means it's even more exciting. I don't know who's going to win the title. I don't know who's going to get relegated. You can make educated guesses, but I really don't know what those guesses will be based on. It's honestly, I think if you look at a league title and you've got 4 teams within that league sort of title challenge, probably, and you look at that relegation scrap and a Barnsley out of that relegation scrap, I don't know. Durham probably will be all right with a couple more results, but Stockport, Norton, Doncaster, York, Fylde, toss a coin. Give me a coin now, and I'll just toss it twice, and we'll see who I think is going to go down, because I really don't know. I think as well, we've seen over the last couple of weeks the impact weather can have. If there are teams going out there and getting results on the board, like Cheadle have, and then other teams like Chorley, for example, have to add another game at the end of the season as fixture congestion starts coming in. Is it going to have to be played midweek? Like, how is this going to start happening? I think it's super interesting. I think for a team to come up in Cheadle and Barnsley as well and be comfortable, let alone pushing for the title, that's insane. Yes, John, I know Stourbridge did exactly that. But it's a massive achievement, and fair play for Cheadle, because like I've mentioned before on the show, the last few years the teams coming up from the Northwest Regional Division have gone down. So FC United came up, went down. Merseyrail came up, went down. FC United came back up, went down. Cheadle have come up, and not just staying up, but they're really pushing to go straight back through the top again. So hope I hope they do it. I hope they do it because there's good people at every club, but it's nice I think it's nice to sit there and go, yeah, we've had, between my time at FC and Wythenshawe as well, we've had a number of games against Cheadle, league games, cup games. Every year we seem to get a cup game against them, and they've always been fantastic games. As much as it'd be nice to rekindle the rivalry next year in the league, there's still a long way to go before we even think about that. But I think it's a fantastic league. There's loads going on. I genuinely can't call it, and that's what makes it so interesting.
Absolutely, that is going to be, like I say, a wild ride. When we move to the Midlands, it would look as though nothing's happened, but it has. It's just that everyone has kept the space that they were in. There were 3 games at the weekend. So Bolton St Michael's, they had a 1-0 win over Peterborough. Peterborough really dropped it, John, in the last few weeks, because they were in with a shout, but Northampton just sort of taken over there at the minute with that loss as well against Bolton St Michael's. Not helpful for them at all. Loughborough Lightning just taking the mickey, really, just a 10-0 win against Lincoln United there, and huge for them because they've still got 3 games in hand, which again, if they win, will put them top of the table. So even though they're 4th, they should not be counted out. And of course, you've got Notts County 1 and Northampton 4. So that win was incredibly helpful for them, putting them away from Peterborough. There is 1 game next week. That'll be Barnsley Women against Solihull Moors. So a good chance for Solihull to try and get that gap at the bottom reduced. But it is a pretty full fixture list on the 26th. You've got Lincoln City against Sutton Coldfield, Lincoln United against Notts County, Peterborough against Barnsley Women, Worcester against Leafield, and Bolton St Michael's against Loughborough Lightning, which is going to be a big one for them. Quick rundown, John. How is this league looking to you?
Well, much like Gareth, this is my favourite league, obviously within the Midlands. So it is really exciting. And what I would say, if we're going to spend a couple of minutes maybe just talking about Bolmere. So obviously they did play, got a massive result with it, 1-0. Riddy Ruprelia scored again. She's doing really well. What I would say is it's just been a massive turnaround for Bolmere since we began this show. About 16 weeks ago, or however long it's been now throughout the season.
This is week 19, would you believe?
19. Wow. Okay. I can't. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of talking, and that's a lot of slides as well. I just think that Bolmere had a bit of a rough start. Had a brand new manager. However, he's really turning things around. You can see a lot of players are getting on board with him. But more than anything, there's been a lot of changes over the winter break as well. So he's brought in some quality players. Chloe Finn from Sutton, which is Sutton is just literally down the road from Bolmere. So Chloe Finn's one of the best midfielders out there. That they brought in, I think Hornsby, I think from Sutton Coldfield as well. Leonie Joyce from Tier 3, who won Tier 4 last year at Calster. So they're really excelling, and the buzz around Bolmere at the moment is really, really infectious. And you can, it's a little bit too late for them now to actually make a push on promotion. However, as you rightly said, they've got Loughborough coming up. They're still going to play all the big guns. They've just won Peterborough. I can honestly say that they will go into every game expecting to win, and that's fantastic to see. So yeah, Bolmere obviously very, very strong at the moment. They have lost one of the strikers, Janelle Straker, to a rival Leafield. However, with the abundance of strikers that they've got up front and the midfield attacking threats as well, Bolmere have got a very, very strong side. And I want to say that I don't want to talk about money too much, but they're not short of money. I don't think players will go there for the money. However, it's nice to know that they have actually got a little bit as well. So, yeah, they are going to be a massive threat next year. And I'm already looking forward to next year because every one of those top 10 are improving. Month after month, they're just getting better and better. So, yeah, well done to Bolmere in the last few weeks. And yeah, Loughborough 10-0, games in hand. They're obviously going to be the favourites now. But Leafield's not out of it either. Leafield are only about 6 points behind, game in hand over Peterborough. So they've also got to play each other. We're only halfway through the season, just over. So lots to get into. But yeah, just credit to Bolmere for getting another win.
Absolutely, that it is, like you say, going to be quite a rundown as we get to the summer. Well, lots of changes going on in Division 1 South East at the moment. 3 games that happened during the weekend. Norwich just absolutely walloped Ashford, who are cutting a pretty forlorn figure at the bottom of the table. 7-0 Norwich managed to beat them. It's put them up into 4th place. Chatham Town drew with Real Bedford, but a win for Chatham Town last weekend before has put them 1 place higher, and they've switched with Real Bedford. So quite a big one there, and that draw has it's good for Chatham, but of course Real Bedford do have that game in hand, and if they win it, they will go top of the table. Cambridge United defeating London Seaward, also cutting a fairly forlorn figure at the bottom of the league there. And Cambridge United will be delighted about pulling themselves even further away from danger there. Again, County Cup things happening during next week, but on the 26th we will be seeing Chesham against Cambridge United in what is quite a big game for Chesham there, as they will want to try and put daylight between themselves and the bottom 2, where meanwhile Norwich will play Dulwich, which will be the Witch Derby. And you then, of course, got QPR against London Bees. QPR, it's not really much to play for them now. They've sort of found themselves in a little bit of limbo, but London Bees will be looking to turn their 2025 around after 2 defeats on the trot. Real Bedford will be playing FC Sudbury, which is a nice sort of rematch for them. And again, a big one. Sudbury could find themselves back in with a shout of the league if they were able to get the win. But if not, you would think that is probably their game run. So plenty of things happening here. Chatham Town, to be fair to them, it would be quite unexpected, I think, for them to come in and win the league in the manner that they are, but they have worked incredibly hard to do so. Real Bedford just trying to move themselves up the league. You can see exactly what they're trying to do. And again, I've mentioned them since the very, very start over these 19 weeks. They are definitely going to be a side to keep your eye on. And Actonian's just not going away at the moment, hanging around like a bad smell at the top there. They are refusing to disappear. So lots to go on. People talk about their leagues that they're enjoying there. I think the relegation is really starting to take shape here. You're looking at any 2 from 3. But yeah, certainly up the top there, still in anyone in the top half of that league, absolutely in with a shout of winning it. And then, of course, Division 1 Southwest, lots going on in the Division 1 Southwest. Swindon and Moneyfields have gone above Bournemouth. But Bournemouth, I think if I checked this right, they haven't played a cup match for league match for quite some time. And that would show by the fact they've got 6 games in hand over Swindon. So Swindon can be delighted about being on 31 points, but Bournemouth need 4 points from 6 games. And again, you're going to sit there and think, surely that is something they are going to do. Moneyfields did go into second by beating Keynsham by 4 goals to nil. I don't know who Neil is, to nil, sorry. And Southampton women, not the one in the Championship, of course, lost 5-0 to Swindon Town. So that's why those 2 teams are doing as well as they have done and leapfrogging Bournemouth. Worthing with a 7-1 win over the other Bournemouth Sports. But a previous win in the previous weekend has seen them get out of the bottom 2. So really big ones there. County Cup coming up, and then of course the week after you will see Abingdon, who are down there in 9th and wanting to get away from the bottom. They will be playing Bridgewater, so a big game for them. Bournemouth Sports have the opportunity to try and escape as well by playing Maidenhead United, so quite a lot happening down the bottom. Moneyfields will play Bristol Rovers, who will just be hoping they don't see another 9 goals go past them, but looking at their goal difference in the league here, you would expect that not to be the case. And of course, we've got Southampton women. They will be facing Worthing. So not a huge amount going on at the top of the table over the course of January, but certainly we should get a better idea of what's happening. It's not looking great for Southampton women at the bottom, but certainly Portishead, Bournemouth and Abingdon are all vying at the moment to escape from that potential last relegation spot. That takes us nicely through all of the leagues. And what a wonderful way it has been. I've really enjoyed it. I can tick that page. That's very, very nice. Gareth, thank you so much for joining us in the end. I hope all is well. And again, boys, just really nice to talk about football again. It's been too long, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Sorry, I can see Gareth's lips moving, but I couldn't hear any volume coming out.
No, I couldn't either, but I got the idea of it. It was something along the lines of absolutely. I've really missed it. So, brilliant stuff. Well, there we go. There may be, say it quietly, a little bit of a change to what's going on in terms of the people that you see here. We're not leaving, don't worry, but there might be. Gareth might have somebody to join him if he's down there eventually. That's something that we're looking to do as we try to improve what we're doing. But we really hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, with next week being the County Cup, I'm sure we'll take a more in-depth look into Tier 5 and see what's going on around Tier 5 at that point. But for now, thank you very much, John, Gaza. Brilliant to have you with us again. And thank you a lot for watching. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next week for episode 20. It's 20 already of Lower League Lingo. Good night. God bless. Take care.